we step out of our comfort zones. But that doesn't mean that we have the right to turn around and berate others. And sadly, that tends to become our next step. So we become a vegetarian, and then we become what my friends used to accuse me of being, which is the vegetarist. It's not just about my food choices, it's about what you're doing that's wrong or right. And it's not just I'm flushing or not flushing, it's what you're doing. And while we certainly work for and pray for and try to assist with in any way other people's awakening in whatever way we're able to be a tool, we're not put here in charge of other people. We're not appointed the karmic police or the spiritual awakening police. And so we have to remember and re-remember that it's our choices and our awakening, not we're standing, washing our hands and somebody flushes and we're asking them, was that only, boy, you weren't in there long enough for that to be anything other than yellow. Didn't you see my sticker? It's not about that. It's about me and my awakening and my choices. And then with the prayer that we will become a magnet or a reflector of those choices and that awakening. So to recap for a moment where you are coming from, because you were fortunate enough to be here, but so many were not. A few nights ago, Pujya Swamiji was speaking about, someone had asked about the decline of Vedic civilization. And the question had been a historic one, but Pujya Swamiji had taken it and was speaking really about, in general, what brings us out of and away from that awakened state, and how we personally decline into a state of unawareness, of darkness, personal inner darkness. And so now our brother has asked, well, so I'm starting at the bottom. How do I move higher in my awakening? The beautiful truth is that, particularly when we're speaking about individuals instead of societies, awakened is actually our true state. You've never been away from being awakened. That in you which is awakened has not actually gone anywhere. It doesn't need to be retrieved or created or developed. In fact, whenever there are advertisements for self-development programs or self-development classes, Pujya Swamiji always laughs because he says, it's as though people think that God did half a job and has sort of left the rest up to us, as though we came here half-baked and now it's up to us to finish the job. The true self is fully awakened and developed, is there at that highest peak. The problem is that in the mix with it, in the mix with that connection, that awareness, that knowing, is what we call the veil of Maya. And it's the equivalent we speak all the time about having the sun shining, but your curtains are drawn. And so you're sitting in the dark room, praying for the sun, wanting the sun to be there, chanting mantras for the sun, doing sun salutations, when the sun has actually always been there. And so, on a personal level, the good news is that it actually is already within you. That knowing, that awareness, that truth is already there. The only problem is that we identify with that which is not the awareness. We identify with the veil. We identify with this vehicle that we've come in. The body is a vehicle. Who we are, the true self, has taken this vehicle for a particular part of its journey, a particular moment in time. And yet, because we identify with the vehicle, we identify with where it's been, where it is at this moment. So if I say to most people, who are you? Tell me about yourself. What I'll get is how old you are, where you're from, how many kids you have. They're married, they're not married. You're married, not married. These are the sorts of details that we tend to get. What religion you are, what degrees you have. And as I always say, this is the equivalent of if you were driving down the freeway and someone called you on the phone and said, who are you? And you said, oh, I'm exit 51. That person would say, no, I didn't say where are you. I said, who are you? And then you repeated and you said, oh, I'm at mile marker 10 at exit 51. That person would think either you'd gone crazy or the phone had so much static that you couldn't hear what they were asking, which is, who are you, not where are you? And yet, just as ridiculous as it is to say, I'm exit 51, because we all understand, well, no, I'm in my car, which is a vehicle, and the vehicle is traveling, and at the current intersection of time and space, we're at exit 51, but that's not who I am. In the same way, all of that which we identify as, our culture, our religion, our career, our socioeconomic status, our abilities, our successes, our challenges, even our emotional state, our relationships even. It's just a current intersection of time and space. The you is the one in the vehicle. And so when we start to talk about awakening, it's actually an undoing. We think of it as a progression almost upward. I'm going somewhere, I'm climbing a ladder. Whereas actually it's much more of an undoing of that which we've done to ourselves through acculturation, through socialization, through indoctrination, through education, through all of these otherwise very well-meaning institutions that have convinced us that we are our degrees and we are the size of our waist and we are our physical bodies, our careers. And so everything you can do to give yourself an experience, not just intellectual. Last night we were speaking so much about the problem with trying to use the mind to overcome the challenges of the mind and the dilemma that that puts us in. So if you can cultivate experiences of awakening, of and you're in the right place. These are experiences that come in meditation. They come in experiences of spiritual, ecstatic community, prayer, the arati, sitting on the banks of Ganga, in the presence of enlightened masters. These are the sorts of experiences that tend to just throw open our curtains for us. And the minute that we've actually had a glimpse even of who we really are, then we understand what the path is. It doesn't mean that we never act out of ego again. It doesn't mean that we never get angry again. It doesn't mean that we never have lust or greed again. It doesn't mean that we never judge ourselves by our socioeconomic status again. But what it means is that there's inside of us an awareness of what the truth is. And then there becomes that awareness and this just sort of autopilot personality thing that's going. And the more you meditate, the less you run on autopilot. The more you meditate, the more mindful you are. You know, last night somebody had asked about mindlessness. Well, it's not about becoming mindless, it's about becoming mindful. But mindful of what? Not mindful of the games of the mind. Not just more and more stuck in that. But mindful of the present moment. And the more mindful we are, the less bound by the mind we are. And the more in awareness we're able to live. So spend your time, and when you say concrete steps in the next, few weeks that you have, I would say spend as much time as you can being quiet. You've got your whole life to hang out and drink tea and shop and check your email and do all the things that are so compelling to us because they're so familiar to us. And spend as much time as you possibly can sitting on the banks of Ganga, just being still and cultivating that awareness. And what you'll get is a state that feels very much like as you sink into it. But in order for that to happen, that which is binding you has to be let go. At the end of the day of work, when you come home and you're in a suit and tie and a top hat and shoes, and the body is tired and fatigued, and you get into a hot bath, well, we all go, But in order to have that happen, we have to first take off the top hat and the suit and tie, right? I mean, if we got into the hot bath fully clothed with our shoes on, it wouldn't be nearly as relaxing. We wouldn't be able to actually let go. And in the same way, we have to let go of that which is not self in order to actually be able to sink into that joy of the experience and the awakening. And you're in exactly the perfect place.